Hey you, it's Nikki Palamountain from Dyslexia Unpuzzled. Today I want to dive into an important question. What are the first signs and symptoms of dyslexia? If you've ever wondered how to spot the early indicators or what to do if you suspect dyslexia, you're in the right place. Firstly, what is dyslexia? Well, dyslexia is more than just a difficulty with reading or writing. As Ron Davis explains, dyslexia is a difference in how the brain processes symbols and language. It's not a problem with intelligence. Kids with dyslexia are often incredibly bright and creative, but their brains are wired to think in pictures rather than words. This visual way of thinking can make it hard to decode written language, which is made up of abstract symbols. These kids are intuitive, imaginative, and big picture thinkers, but they often struggle with the sequential and linear nature of reading and writing. So, what are the early signs? Let's start with our youngest learners, preschoolers. Some of the early indicators might include difficulty recognizing rhymes. For example, they might not notice that cat and hat rhyme, or they avoid rhyming games entirely. Trouble learning letters and their sounds. Letters might feel like abstract symbols that don't connect to anything meaningful for them. Mispronouncing longer words. A child might say paschetti instead of spaghetti, or mix up the order of sounds. Struggles with sequencing, like remembering the days of the week or counting in order. These are clues that a child may be thinking more in pictures than in words, which is at the heart of how dyslexic individuals process the world. As kids enter school, new alarm bells might appear. Here's what you might notice. Guessing at words instead of sounding them out. Because they think visually, a child with dyslexia might look at a word and guess its meaning based on its shape, rather than breaking it down phonetically. Memorizing text instead of actually reading it. They might rely on their exceptional memory to recall a story rather than decoding the words. Frequent spelling mistakes. For example, they might spell the same word differently lots of times in the same paragraph. Letter reversals. Common ones include B and D or P and Q. This happens because the brain sees these symbols in multiple dimensions and orientation. Avoiding reading. Reading can feel overwhelming, so they might just avoid it altogether. One thing Ron Davis highlights is how children with dyslexia often compensate with strong listening comprehension. They can understand a story read aloud with no trouble, but struggle to understand the same story when they read it themselves. Here's another key insight. Sometimes they don't comprehend what they've read at all. That's because they're using so much energy to decode the words that there's no brain power left to absorb the meaning. These patterns are important red flags to watch for. Of course, we can't ignore the emotional side of dyslexia. Kids with dyslexia are often working twice as hard just to keep up with their peers. They might start to feel frustrated or even label themselves as stupid because they can't seem to get it, even though they're giving it their all. This frustration can lead to low self-esteem, anxiety, or even acting out in class. That's why it's so important for us to recognise their struggles, not just academically, but emotionally too. So, when should you be concerned? Here are some key signs to look for. If these struggles persist despite lots of practice, if a child seems highly intelligent in conversations but falls behind in reading and writing tasks, if they become frustrated or emotional because they're putting in so much effort but not seeing the results they expect or keeping up with their peers. if there's a family history of dyslexia or other learning challenges. If any of these sound familiar, it's time to dig deeper. Now, what can you do if you do suspect dyslexia? One approach that's had a profound impact on my work is the Davis method, outlined in the book, The Gift of Dyslexia. This method embraces the visual thinking style of dyslexic individuals and transforms it into an effective way of learning. Here are some practical steps that you can take. Understand their thinking style. Dyslexic individuals think in pictures, not words, helping them visualize abstract concepts like letters, sounds, or punctuation can make all the difference. Work with clay models. The Davis method encourages creating letters and words with clay, making them tangible and easier to understand. Teach focusing tools. Helping kids to learn to centre their attention can reduce the confusion they feel when faced with symbols or words. It's also important to celebrate these strengths. Kids with dyslexia are often gifted in creativity, problem solving, and thinking outside the box, not to mention sports. By focusing on these strengths, you can help build their confidence and set them up for success. At Dyslexia Unpuzzled, I work with clients to help them bridge the gaps by teaching tools and strategies that make reading easier and more effective. This way, they can not only decode words but also fully comprehend and engage with what they're reading. It's about creating a clearer, more confident path forward. Remember, dyslexia isn't a weakness, it's a different way of thinking. If you're seeing these signs in a child, trust your instincts and take action. With the right tools and support, kids with dyslexia can achieve some incredible things. If you found this video helpful, please like it, share it, and don't forget to subscribe for more insights like this. And if you have questions or experiences to share, I'd love to hear them in the comments. Together, we can ensure every child gets the support that they need. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, dyslexia is not a limitation, it's a gift.